The science fiction genre encompasses a vast selection of films that have always resonated with audiences. Films like 2001: A Space Odyssey, Planet of the Apes, Star Wars, The Matrix, Alien, Inception, Interstellar, and so many more. All of these films have in some way influenced the sci-fi genre and contributed to its continuous popularity that has spanned over decades. However, among all the great sci-fi, one film sticks out as the quintessential science fiction film, and that is Ridley Scott's 1982 Blade Runner. But before diving into what makes Blade Runner the ultimate science fiction film, we must first identify what makes a good sci-fi film in general. The three main criteria for good sci-fi, though there are many more, is 1. Visually stunning and groundbreaking. Sci-fi films have always been categorized by revolutionary visual effects more than any other genre. Number 2. An engaging story and intriguing characters. The story in sci-fi always grabs the audience's attention, which is a contributing factor to the genre's success. And 3. Imaginative. Oftentimes, sci-fi leaves you asking questions about the film itself, what it means, and most importantly, how it applies to our world. Now back to Blade Runner. The main plot of the film, as summed up in the opening crawl, takes place in 2019, where humans have created robots virtually identical to humans called replicants. These replicants were used for slave labor off-world, but a group of them recently escaped and have come to Earth. Rick Deckard, played by Harrison Ford, is a Blade Runner whose job is to hunt down and kill the rogue replicants. As for the first criteria, visually stunning and groundbreaking, Blade Runner is filled with hundreds of beautiful shots. Look no further than this opening shot of the film, which shows the beautiful futuristic dystopian vision of Los Angeles. This shot, like everything else in the movie, is all practical effects. There's no CGI, everything was handmade with incredible detail. Here's a few more visually phenomenal shots throughout the movie. Not only are these all amazing for 1982 standards, but they still hold up today and were absolutely revolutionary for the time. Blade Runner's visuals are on par, if not better, than a lot of the CGI that we see in modern cinema. On to the second criteria, an engaging story and characters. The actual story of Blade Runner, as I outlined during the opening crawl, is quite simple, yet very interesting. You get a kind of detective story setup, trying to find and kill the bad guys. However, as the film progresses, the story gets more complex because of the characters Ridley Scott creates, which is what sets this film apart from the rest. All of the characters contribute in some way to the meaning and understanding of Blade Runner. For example, Gaff's character trait of creating the origami is absolutely essential to comprehending the last scene. Every character, from Rachel to Pris, adds something to the movie in their own way. Finally, the third criteria, imaginative. Ridley Scott created a vast world that has a ton of small details many people don't even notice. However, the questions this movie leaves you with are the most important element. The first question is summed up in this scene between Rick and Terrell, where they are discussing how Rachel does not know she's a replicant and that her memories are implants. This raises the question of what does it mean to be human, and at what point do we value human life? Ridley Scott leaves that up to the audience. And the second question is whether or not Rick is a replicant. This scene, when paired with the earlier dream sequence, seems to suggest that Rick is a replicant because Gaff knows what Rick is thinking. But there are no definitive answers. The audience is meant to interpret the ending and what it means for themselves. And thus, Blade Runner is the quintessential sci-fi film because all others attempt to live up to the brilliance of Ridley Scott's 1982 masterpiece. When comparing all other sci-fi films to Blade Runner, they simply do not possess the power and depth that Blade Runner does. As Roy Batty says, Blade Runner will live on while other sci-fi films
will be lost in time, like tears.